Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of Adventures in Beekeeping. Today, what we're going to do is try and determine the cause of a failed hive. It is now April 12th, 2018. I had 3 hives, healthy hives, entering the fall of last year, and all 3 are dead. It happens. It happens to a lot. And this year it happened more than expected to many beekeepers for, well, unknown reasons. But what we're going to try to do today is do an autopsy or a necropsy on these hives. I'm going to try to get to at least 2 of them. The 3rd hive I know failed because it got robbed out by yellow jackets last fall, and there was not near enough bees surviving to last the winter. And I kind of knew that going in. They were Italian. It was an Italian hive, and it was my package from last year, so it was probably a little weaker than the other 2 hives that I had. And I had done some open feeding in the fall, and then there wasn't much left of the open feed left when I left. I left for a trip up north for a week and a half or something like that, maybe 2 weeks. And when I came back, there were thousands of dead bees in front of the hive, and you can tell that they had a battle and lost, apparently. So there's still plenty of honey, which was a little odd. Although the yellow jackets looked like they had won, they didn't rob out the honey in the hive. But anyways, these 2 hives that were left had several. I checked them in February on a warmer day. It was a 40-degree day in February, and I had small cluster, probably about that size on the top frame, and this one and the other one. And this is the only hive that I didn't put any extra sugar on to start the fall, but I did at that time. I added some extra sugar and a little bit of fondant, pollen, or winter patty, I guess you could say. I put it in there, and I didn't put it in there with wax paper, which I probably should have, so it kind of made up a bit of a mess. Live and learn on that experiment. But because I thought it was going to be cold enough where it wouldn't melt or anything. But anyways, there really wasn't, in that small cluster, there really wasn't enough to survive. And sure enough, I mean, today's 50 degrees. Some things should be flying if they were gonna get out, and there's nothing. These bees have died. I was in here earlier today, and the hive is dead. But I just poked my head in a little bit. But we're gonna just take a quick look at what we got. And this is the wood chips that I used as insulation, and I think that did a good job. I'll be honest with you, moisture wasn't the issue in my hive, because when I checked it, it was dry as a bone inside there. So this is the candy board. I only put I think I put 8 pounds of candy on it, and like I said, that cluster was so small they barely touched it, and they were up on it just a little bit, but not very much. And anyways, so as you can kind of see, this patty melted a bit on me, so let's kind of go through and see what we got here. I'm just going to take a look and see what we've got for honey and what we have for this is 3/4 full on this side, and it's 100% full of honey on this side. So, you know, You could say that they didn't starve out, but you could say they did, because what was left, they can't move when they're in that small of a group. They literally, there wasn't enough warmth. They were probably in a state of torpor, so they're really not gonna move over to one frame or anything like that to try to get to some extra food. This one, there's a little bit of honey here, a little bit of honey here, but they've eaten out everything. On this side, same with here, we've got honey all the way around. Now these frames, I'll actually be honest with you, these are going to make excellent frames for starting a new colony this spring. I've got bees coming in 10 days or so. The downside to this spring is we literally have snow late. Now you can see it's starting to melt, and this is great. Starting tomorrow, it's supposed to rain. Saturday, we're supposed to get a wintry mix, and then start getting 1 to 3 inches on Saturday night, and then possibly up to 20 inches by Sunday. And it's April, well, today's the 12th, so we're looking at the 14th, you're looking at getting 20 inches. When I turned 18 years old, I got 30 inches on my birthday, my 18th birthday. I couldn't even go out drinking. But I remember that. I remember that day. Okay, here's a frame, some dead bees. You can kind of see their butts in some of them. You know, did they starve out? Probably. There's some capped. Hard to tell what's going on there. All open. All open. But we're just gonna try to shake those bees out of there. But these are going to be really nice frames for a package or whatever, for probably a package for this spring that's coming. I've got 4 packages and 6 nukes coming. So let's see here. Here's another one. You can kind of see there isn't anything left. Little bit of honey right here, but that's it. All the other cells are all completely open. Same with this side. A little capped brood. It looks like dead capped brood. Bees dead. This is just a plain dead out. Now I'm going to take these frames inside. So that nothing moves in until I'm ready for something to move in, and I'll freeze some of the honey ones, and some of the other ones I'm just going to store so that wax moths or anything don't get to it, or mice don't get to it. But I don't see anything here that's telling me any stories again. Completely empty, completely empty. Now we're getting to some area here with honey, lots and lots of honey. We've got all kinds of honey here, all kinds of honey here, empty cells in the middle where the cluster was. Lots of honey on this side. This is getting towards the outside frames. You can kind of tell where they're not getting, you know, they didn't want to climb on those outer frames there. This one's absolutely full of honey, 100% full of honey. And I really have to get these into the freezer. And I can use these at any time. I'll probably use one for a, one for a package, along with a couple of the open cells. So these are going to be very, very nice to use. Absolutely full honey. absolutely full honey. So this colony, I have, at least on this top frames, I have 5 honey frames absolutely full of honey. But they're, like I said, when they started dying off, now why they died off we still have to ascertain. Probably, I'm gonna guess, it was probably mites is what I'm gonna guess, varroa mites. And you know, being that last year was my first year of beekeeping, come the fall, I treated for varroa. Well, I pulled the honey supers off August 25th, and then I treated a week or 2 weeks later, so mid-September. Now my guess is they still had, and I didn't. That's one of the problems I didn't do. I didn't do a mite count, and I didn't check for brood, and I should have, because oxalic acid treatment is no good for if you have brood. You're just peeing in the wind. I should have waited until probably, but we had a warm spell in October, and you always have warm spells in October. We have some cold spells, but we also have some warm spells. Waited for a warm spell at the end of October, beginning of November, and then done the oxalic acid treatment, and I bet you that they would have been done with their brood by then, and I would have helped them out immensely. But I did it in mid-September, and I think that was an error on my part. I should have done. I should have pulled my supers off probably earlier than the 25th of August. I probably should have pulled them like the first week of August or so, and then given them another super to see how they did. But and then been treated sometime in mid-October, not with oxalic acid, but maybe with a mite away quick strip for a while, until they were done with the brood, and then giving them the oxalic at the end of October. So, anyways, even though my first year, this is the only hive, by the way, that I got any honey from. I got 50 pounds of honey off this hive, 50 pounds of surplus. And as you can see, there still was lots of honey in here. So let's continue on and see what we can see for this hive. I'm gonna break this one loose a little bit here. Wow, this one has nothing in it. Completely empty, except for a little tiny bit of honey right there in the corner. That was not expected. But being a bottom frame, maybe they were all out of honey in these bottom frames. I probably should note that I cleaned this hive out in February. I swept out the bottom of the box in February. I don't see any mites sitting on my bees, but I'm gonna guess that the mites exited. This one's completely empty. I'll tell you what though, this baby is a sticky freaking mess. I can't wait till I get some bees and they'll clean this up. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are from actually my original. Let's see. Hope you can see what I'm seeing here. Let me get that down there a little bit. These 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are from the original nuke that I installed, and I said this was May 25th I installed this as a nuke, and by August 25th I had 50 pounds of surplus honey off of it. And like I said, it was the only one that had surplus honey. Isn't that amazing? This hive is a bit of a mess. My goodness. But you can tell these frames are a little older, a little darker. Some pollen in there. They're completely empty. Absolutely completely empty. Some pollen completely empty. Pollen completely empty. Now, I'll probably use these frames one more year, but that'll probably be it. These are getting pretty dark. Before I start replacing the comb in it. Actually, I'll have to replace these frames. These are actually natural. Ugh. Completely empty. Now, funny thing is about this is all the capped brood in here. It's really freaking odd. No indications of any other issues here. Empty. Okay. This one has some honey in it right here. Some honey in it right here. Dead bees. Okay. It's empty on the outer frame. Has some honey at a diagonal here. No indications of any issues, but you can kind of tell. Look in the bottom of this bottom board here. Ugh. Let's crack this baby. I'm going to look for indications of mites in here. And actually, I'll be right back because I've got a little tool that's going to help me determine if these are mites or not. Okay, I got a little tool for those of us that are visually impaired. So I picked these up for $5 off of eBay. So what I'm looking for is signs of varroa. And honestly, I'm kind of seeing varroa all over. Yep, pretty good indication that that varroa took me out. Unfortunately. Boy, I wish that wasn't the case. What the hell is that? I don't know what that is. They got the kind of a shape of an oyster, you know, but they're so small, but they're not microscopic. So yeah, it's safe to say for me that that varroa was my downside here, was my downfall. Unfortunately, that's just the way it works. Boy, I wish that wasn't the case. Oh, my goodness. There we go. Okay. What are you barking at? So, dang it. All right, enough eating the sugar. Okay, so we've got that down. Pretty much indicates that varroa is the problem. That was a lot of varroa. I wish you could have seen it, but I just don't have that kind of camera that can show it to you. So what we're going to do is leave this here, but we're going to go on to the next hive, and we'll do the same thing with that hive. Okay, this is a hive that from a split that I made last year, and it actually was doing really quite well. And I don't know why this one died, but I'm going to guess varroa, the same issue. As you can see, they didn't even touch the candy board, pretty much. And what I'm going to do is salvage this candy, and I'll just chop it out, and I'll be dropping it into a 5-gallon bucket full of water, and I'll mix this, make sugar syrup this spring, so nothing will go to waste. Either that or my puppy will come and eat it. And again, you can kind of see where I put a winter patty in, and it's sort of melted all over. So I'll never do that again. I'll actually use the wax paper. And this one, I had a small cluster. Oh, I can't remember exactly where it was. It was somewhere around here. This is about this big when I checked it in February. There ain't nothing at all here now. So we're just gonna kind of go through and see what we got. Here's a 3/4 full honey, half full honey on this side. Ooh. Half full honey, almost all the way full honey. This is a little odd right here. I think that's still honey. It's just a different kind of honey. It's a little browner honey. There. Okay. You can tell that they ate that much in the honey. They left all that. 3/4 honey. Lots and lots and lots of honey left over. Oh, there's my cluster. There's what's left of my cluster right there. I have a funny feeling they're all dead. They're actually in the fondant there. There just wasn't enough of them to survive. Look at them in all the butts in the cells. Oh well, honey on this side, honey on this side. They just couldn't move. I am a sticky mess right now, I'll be honest with you. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. Yeah, just on the other side, there's the other portion of the small cluster that was left. There just wasn't enough bees to survive. Again, I have a funny feeling that varroa took them out. They tried to maintain a state of torpor, and torpor is actually just a state of inanimation during the winter. Where they're too cold to actually move, but they're still alive. And if you warm them up, they'll actually come to life. And they can stay like that for quite some time, but they can't do it indefinitely, obviously. And the longer that they stay like that, they can't eat either, obviously. So, and because they're not moving around, and they're not going to move around when they don't move in a kind of a cluster over. So they end up just dying out. That's a shame. But I'm be honest with you, I got lots of frames for starting some new hives for this spring. All open frames here. It's funny, it almost looks like this brood is emerging, trying to emerge. And the bees will clean this up once I install it in a new hive. More honey. That's a lot of honey. And these are all full of honey. Absolutely loaded. So it wasn't a lack of food. Move. Come on. Definitely wasn't a lack of food. Completely full honey frame there. I could actually extract that one if I wanted to, but I'm going to freeze them. Like I said, why not give my packages an advantage? Or splits. You know, an advantage. Absolutely loaded with honey. Okay. Next year I'm going to do something different. Instead of this tar paper, I'm going to go with it's called Reflectix. It's the insulation that they use on water heaters. It's a little pricey, but I can reuse it. It's foil back, both sides, and it's kind of thin. It's 1/4 inch. And real easy to work with, real easy to cut, and guys have had pretty good success with it, so that's what I'm gonna do in this next few. Sorry about my dogs. That's funny. This one never got drawn out, even though every single frame in the upper level did get drawn out. This one has been there since day one. It never got drawn out, and the back half of this one never did either. They didn't touch it. Isn't that funny how the bees do that? Now this, just so you know, this hive actually has a screen bottom board, so that was a little different as well. This has pollen in it all the way through here, along with nectar, which is interesting. Pollen, lots of pollen in here. So I'm going to try to save this actually for, I'm going to freeze it, and I can use that especially for a package in the spring. Again with the pollen here. Lots of color in here. Interesting. There's that one too for pollen. Nope. A few cells of pollen in here. Lots of open frames. Lots of bees down the bottom of this hive. Funny, emerging brood are dead. They're emerging and they just kind of died coming out. So it looks like this hive was producing brood at some point. God only knows when. That's enough. My goodness, is there a lot of color in here. It's funny how cold it's been here. It hasn't been over 50 degrees at any point, and this honey is dripping all over. These are empty. These have all been empty pretty much here. Completely empty. And this frame completely not drawn out. How odd is that? Wow. Okay. So let's take a look and see what we can see here. Like I said, this is a screen bottom. Lots and lots of dead bees. I'm probably not going to see varroa on them, but I will see them on the mite board underneath here. I'm actually looking for my queen, but she was unmarked. I never got to see her live. The virgin queen that got mated and then went on to produce, I never found her, but she made a nice colony. So I was just kind of looking to see if I could spot her in here anywhere. Boy, what a shame, huh? You know, all these bees are gonna die anyways, obviously, but I don't like to see a dead hive. I gotta become a better beekeeper. Here's all these yellow jackets. Okay, here's that, oh God. I'm embarrassed, actually. There are so many varroa on here, it is absolutely embarrassing. I didn't, wow. This one didn't get killed out by the yellow jackets, but the varroa did a number on them. And that's all my fault. There has to be, let me see if I can count this, just in one square. Make it easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 varroa mites in a square. That was that one square. Let's just pick a different one. Okay. How about that one? Well, that's just trying to find one that's a little easier to read. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. My goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's absolutely embarrassing. Completely my fault. God. Boy. And that furthers my research that oxalic acid is absolutely no good while there is brood on the nest. You're peeing against the wind. You should go with some other form of soft chemical treatment, and then do the oxalic acid when you know that your nest, your brood nest is empty of brood, and that they are just about ready to start clustering. You might get a warm day where they're separated, because when they're in a cluster, you're not going to get to them with oxalic acid vaporization. So, you know, in August we should do mite away quick strips, because they're real active. They're running around in mite away quick strips that will get into the brood. And then do the oxalic acid in the end of October. And then I'm in Wisconsin, okay, central Wisconsin. You have to do your own times for your own region, obviously. You have to figure out a time when, you know, your brood production has ended, the cap brood has hatched for your winter bees, and that is the time to do your oxalic acid treatments. Everybody has written this, if you follow anything on Facebook, written the oxalic acid as this wonder treatment, mainly because it's so inexpensive. It's pennies to treat. But in reality, it's no good when there's brood on the nest. It really isn't. You should have a multi-pronged approach, and I'm really learning a lot here about what to do, what not to do. So next year, or this year I should say, is going to be a completely new approach to how I treat my hives, and how I manage my bees. Big lesson learned. You know, I wanted to leave for October, so I was hunting a lot of October and I didn't want to be bothered with my hot. And you know, you gotta do sugar rolls and do a mite count before you treat, and then do it after you treat, so you know how effective you were in your treatments. And that's where I failed. I just treated. Okay, just treat, and you're good. And I treated in the summer, and I treated again at the end of summer, which was end of August, beginning of September, after Labor Day or Memorial Day, whichever day that is. And I failed miserably. But I'm learning a lot. I watched a lot of YouTube videos, lectures from very, very, very well-known beekeepers across the world, across the globe, on learning about every kind of issue: nosema, tracheal mites, varroa mites, you know, treatments, the different kinds of treatments to use, hard treatments, soft treatments, the life cycle of the varroa. That helped immensely to understand what I was dealing with. Yeah, you just read Facebook, it's like, do oxalic acid vapor treatment, buy this thing here, do this, and you're good to go. Bullshit. There's a lot more to it than that, but it's all a learning experience. I love this. You know, it's not very good for the checkbook, for the checking account, to buy bees every year. So that's why my new approach this year. And while we're at it, I wanted to show you what I'm part of what I'm up to here this spring. I'm going to be doing some queen rearing. I'm going to be doing lots of splits. I've got lots of nukes built. I've been doing a lot of woodworking, but anyways, let's show you. Well, that's the hive that got killed out by wasps this past year. So we won't go into that one, but. This is my mini mating nukes. I got this from David Barnyard Bees, the idea for it. So I got 7 of these built. I've only got 4 feeders built. As you can see, these are the feeders for them. This is, by the way, I was referring to that Reflectix. This Ian Stepler from Manitoba, he actually uses it as his inner cover. So that's what I'm going to try to do. But this is it. You can tell it's only 1/8 of an inch thick, but it's insulation, and it should work. But anyways, 2-frame mating nuke, and this is my feeder for it. I had to epoxy the inside so it wouldn't leak all over. It was the only thing I could get to work. And then I also added 3/8 shim on the inside, so they have a little bit of bee space inside. And that's not just, I mean, it's not for the feeder, it's actually for, you know, when I don't have the feeder on, actually. So experimenting a little bit with these discs. Okay, sorry about that, my camera cut out. And it's the next day, and I just wanted to finish what I was saying. But anyways, I'm going to be experimenting with these little discs, and the whole reason for that is so I can transport these nukes. I like that a little bit better because multiple yards, I can close these up with vents much easier than I can close this up without having bees flying in the back of my truck or anything like that. So that's my plan. Sometime mid-May, I'm going to do some grafting, and then 10 days later I'll be doing some splits on that. And then I just wanted to show you real quick what else I'm doing here. So yeah, it's pouring rain out right now, and Now we're supposed to get 12 inches of snow tonight, or not, well, starting tomorrow and through Sunday, and that's really going to suck. But anyways, I just wanted to show you what I'm doing here. I built a bunch of boxes. I've got 5-frame nukes, I've got 4-frame nukes, I've got regular boxes, and then over here actually I have these two down here are going to be single boxes with a divider in the middle to make 2 4-frame nukes, and they're going to come out on opposite sides, and that's going to be for my overwintering. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of those boxes, which will make 8 4-frame nukes for overwintering that I'm going to experiment with this coming winter. But what I'll be doing is splitting out my package hives. Well, I'll be splitting out all my hives actually, but my package hives are pretty much just going to be for producing bees for next year. That's what my package hives are going to be. But anyways, I started painting these. I got them painted with primer, and I had to stop because the weather. I couldn't get a final coat on them, so I had to stop. And you can probably see over there in the trailer, I've got more boxes and nukes built, ready to go. So this is gonna be a big year for me. I'm going big or going home. So, anyways, I just wanted to show you what I was up to. Thanks for watching, and happy beekeeping.